I'm not saying Manager Esquire. Oh, wait. Good evening. The Arcane Detective here. Today's case file is on Don Quixote, the third sinner of the Limbus Company bus department. Gender is female, age is unknown, and height is 162 centimeters or 5 foot 4. Don Quixote has bright blonde hair, styled in a bob cut. Her uniform is that of the standard Limbus Company uniform: red tie, white dress shirt tucked in, and long coat. However, the main and greatly noticeable difference is that Don Quixote wears Fixer merchandise on her person. One of the Fixer products is a purple tear pin on her waist. See Lori's case file for more details on the purple tear. Don Quixote also wears a pair of worn-out sneakers with Rocinante written on them. Personality report from Limbus Company is the following. There is no sinner that can outmatch this one's level of passion. And avid aficionada of all things Fixer, she adorns herself with a variety of Fixer-related merchandise. They won't affect her performance in combat one way or another, so there is no need for you to restrict her from keeping her decorations. She is deeply immersed in the role of a racist fixer, hence the exaggerated mannerisms, akin to those of an actor. Has such a thing ever existed, really? It's advised to play along with her for a smooth mission. As the personality report states, Don Quixote is an aficionada of fixers to an obsessive extent, idealizing fixers like the Red Mist, the Grass Maiden, and Siegfried. Don Quixote believes, or at least claims to believe, that fixers are the noble heroes of the city. This delusion of grandeur and impulsiveness makes Don Quixote one of the more difficult sinners to handle, since Don Quixote will act if she believes that her morals obligate her to do something. Hence, Don Quixote has had a few incidents in the past. The first one being after Riosu kills Ishmael and Heathcliff. In response, Don Quixote drives her lance through Riosu's head in the name of justice. The second major incident was at the K-Corp Nest Crossing, in which Don Quixote tries to stop a child and father from being separated. This action resulted in K-Corp security staff trying to subdue the sinners. When that failed, Siegfried massacred the sinners, but not before Don Quixote got an autograph from him. Later on the bus, Virgilius punished Don Quixote for causing unnecessary conflict and to remind Don Quixote of the deal that they made when C joined Limbus Company. Since this particular incident at K-Corp, Don Quixote has shown a better level of restraint, especially around Virgilius. However, the other sinners still have to sometimes hold a hand over Don Quixote's mouth. Besides that, Don Quixote works with the other sinners very well, though her enthusiasm and knightly attitude can be a bit much for the sinners. A few facts about Don Quixote is that she has specifically 863 dreams, one of which was to sail the Great Lake, which was completed during the hunt for the whale. Don Quixote is noted to like to party and has a love for beach volleyball. Don Quixote is also often seen around Sinclair. This is despite the fact that Don Quixote beated Sinclair when he was lost in a raid at his family's manor. In combat, without the use of identities, Don Quixote uses a lance that has Sueño Imposible, which means impossible dream in Spanish, written on it. The lance is estimated to be 8 feet and 2 inches long, meaning that with the dexterity and skill that Don Quixote wields it, it's clear that she has a lot more strength than what may initially appear. Don Quixote's history starts with her possibly being a fixer, having a fixer identification number like Ishmael. However, this Finn number is crossed out, which will be touched upon later. It is also known that Don Quixote was part of an unknown group. This is confirmed when Don Quixote is beating Sinclair. She explains that in her mindless raids, Don Quixote's friends would beat her up in order to bring her back to her senses. What group Don Quixote was a part of and their status is currently unknown. Don Quixote is also the third sinner to be recruited to Limbus Company by Faust and Virgilius. Don Quixote was recruited between Faust becoming a sinner and Riosu's recruitment. Though the exact details of what happened are unknown, it is clear that there is some kind of deal between Virgilius and Don Quixote, which is unusual as none of the other sinners mention that Virgilius was there at their recruitment. Don Quixote also seems to have some kind of dealings in the past with Moses, the distortion detective, as Don Quixote says that she recognizes the name but cannot remember where she heard it from. The first theory about Don Quixote is related to this fact. Don Quixote has, in the past, met the distortion detective, and since Moses, as the name suggests, specializes in solving distortions, there is a high likelihood of Don Quixote having distorted in the past and, perhaps, possibly in the future. This idea is even further influenced by the fact that Don Quixote has a poor recollection of Moses, which could be because Don Quixote distorted and so has trouble remembering what happened. There is also the case of Don Quixote's identity, which it could be that Don Quixote is someone else, specifically Sancho, which is a reference from where Don Quixote's name comes from, the ingenious gentleman Don Quixote of La Mancha. The reason why the idea that Don Quixote is not the original person of the same name is that 1. Virgilius, when disciplining Don Quixote, pauses to say her name, almost like Virgilius was going to say a different name. The second reason is that Don Quixote's base ego is called La Sangria de Sancho, which means the blood of Sancho. Now, this could very well mean that Sancho is dead and Don Quixote is the person that survived. However, with the previous detail, there is a possibility, along with the fact that Don Quixote's fin is crossed out. It could be that she took the title and ID of another fixer. There is also the case of Don Quixote's personality. It is clearly an act. Now, that might seem obvious. Even the personality report states that her mannerisms are like that of an actor. However, there are two identities that show Don Quixote when the mask is removed. In Don Quixote's She Association director identity, when alone, she doesn't act like a noble knight. Instead, Don Quixote's face is impassive, and she completes her goals without fanfare. This ID confirms that Don Quixote's personality, at least in front of the sinners, is a mask and performance. And though Don Quixote may seem naive, in the Saint Association Director ID, she says this: Heroes fighting in the name of justice, indeed. Such a notion may appear childish in the city. If performed in the form of business, such as this, however, they consider it a real result worth counting. And that is my compromise. What say you? Is it still a childish delusion? This confirms that as much as Don Quixote may act childish, she is anything but, and realizes that morality is complex in the city. The last and most interesting speculation is that Don Quixote is a blood fiend. See case file on blood fiends for more details. This connection comes from Don Quixote's association with the color red, blood, and bleed, especially in her base ego. Now, this usually wouldn't mean too much. This is very tangential evidence. However, there is a fact that is very strange. When Don Quixote is checking the pulse of Angdu, she does so by laying a hand on her forehead, which is not how you check to see if someone is alive, unless a person had some kind of blood related power. However, this is just speculation and has yet to be confirmed. Well, I hope she doesn't cause too much trouble in the future. That's it for this case file. I hope you all have a good day, and as always, good evening.